So basically, James Wan said, oh, y'all just want regular ass horror? I got you. Say less. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Malignant. Now this is a 2021 film. It's directed by James Wan and it is available on HBO Max or in theaters. Now before I get into why maybe this horror movie didn't check all the boxes for me, but what I really appreciated about it and how James Wan was able to take array of things from his first films and put them all here and make something original, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss all things attached as twins and malignants and hopefully subscribe to see more of me. Let's get into this movie. Now, before we jump into the movie, let's spend like one little second on James Wan. What I always loved about him as a director and a writer and all those other good things was his pure passion for horror. Now, I'm not just talking about a little random horror. He's not afraid to take risk and be, original, but always, pays homage to the old school horror. You can see that he's a fan of, the Dracula, the Frankenstein. There's always, a fog machine, some smoke on deck. And, that vintage dark atmosphere, you see that. And the minute this film came on, immediately as soon as it started, it was giving me one of his earlier films, Dead Silence, with the, there's always, a grayish, darkest hue surrounding his films. But there were hits of red here, like we got in that Dead Silence film. And the score for the film was really giving me Dead Silence. And I haven't seen that movie in a really long time, but just hearing it, I was like, this sounds very familiar. Because I can remember watching Dead Silence and I always thought like, oh my God, the score for this film is dramatic as fuck. It's so loud. And it was here. But we also get his other films. The voice on the phone and that whole thing was very much giving me Saw. And, the ending, the twist ending of, whatever you think is going on, that's not quite what's going on here. James Wan likes to give you a little M. Night Shyamalan, a little bit of that. And there's always kind of, a twist ending, with the Saw franchise and that first film and him getting up off the floor, or even with the Insidious film with, the woman taking the picture and you can see, the transfer happen and it's not really him, the spirit's inside of his body, or even with the Dead Silence movie with the father, being puppeteered the whole time. There's always something. Getting into this movie was giving me Dead Silence, okay? Getting into, the opening with the thing, with the spouse, though there was, a different story here, there's still, those curious detectives feeling like, there's more going on that bay and the spouse may be responsible, and them discovering his body and it's all, twisted. That was very much Dead Silence. And then the way that, our monster here appears and the way his body, the black, the contorted look, the luminous thing, it was giving me Insidious. Him at the sewing machine, and not the sewing, I think it was, some type of sewing situation in Insidious, but here he's, trying to makeshift the weapon. It was very much giving me tiptoe through the window. It was giving me Insidious. And then on top of that, we get a little bit of that Conjuring, not only with the luminous atmosphere, but the thing with the Conjuring and the ghosts and certain things moving and appearing. And when they hit that thing with the couch cushion in the beginning, if you saw, you know what I'm talking about, and the husband was attacked, that was very much Conjuring. So it was almost like a gumbo pot of James Wan films here. And I wasn't mad about that. Now, as soon as the movie starts, of course, we are old school. So we have that old school, by the lake, isolated psych ward shit going on, you know, love it. And we immediately begin, you know, with Gabriel and cutting the cancer out. And this is what we need to do. And you see a child, you know, being reared and controlling electricity, and you know there's a whole lot going on, and we immediately start with a lot of death, which I love. You know, that's what we came here for, you know, those kills. This is a purebred natural ass horror movie, and I loved it. Now, with that going on and us, you know, leaving that and getting into present day and getting into, you know, the pregnant woman and the abusive spouse and that whole thing, with the setup and how things go, in us for the most part feeling like, you know, if there's not a twin, there's a brother, there is something going on for, you know, this entity to have such an attachment to her. And I love, you know, how we had that immediately, that kill of the husband, you know, we were unconcerned and didn't care because he was abusive. Like, yeah, kill that nigga. We don't care. I love that. But the movie kind of sets itself up to be quite predictable and have us feeling like, you know, we already know what's going on here. So we're not as invested going on the journey with our lead character into discovering, you know, her none of her birth mother and, you know, her background, things she may have blocked out, what's really going on, who is Gabriel, who's tracking me, why is he doing this, what is this, why am I having these visions? For the most part, we do already know that there is some relative, because there's, you know, so much talk of, you know, her losing her babies and her, you know, wanting some type of blood connection to someone. So it's like, oh yeah, your brother that's haunting you. Like, it doesn't leave, you know, a lot to the imagination there, but it still, you know, was a nice enough ride to go on. Now, getting into the characters, and that's all the way from our main character, Maddie, to the blonde sister, to the detectives. Everybody kind of leaves, you know, something to be desired. You know, it's not, you know, the best writing or character development for them. You know, we're just meant to go on this ride with them. But getting into Maddie, she's really not really the biggest character to root for, because like most people in horror, she doesn't make the smartest decisions. So when we have, you know, so much going on surround her and all this death surrounding her, and her make the decision to, you know, stay in her house alone, and it's like, yeah. But nonetheless, you know, we're here, we're with them. Now, getting into our monster here, this is a whole new, you know, creative type of concept. I've never seen this monster before, of course, with the film called Malignant. Malignant is, you know, kind of another word for, you know, disease. And, you know, there's an infestation, and with the whole look of the, you know, the black and the hair, it was very much giving me, you know, The Grudge. But, you know, we ain't tripping. Even it was, you know, giving me The Grudge. And even, you know, with the playback in the tapes when they get to going back and trying to investigate about Maddie and her upbringing and just, you know, the tapes and that whole thing, that was very much giving me The Ring. This was just a whole horror gumbo. James Wan said, I am going to use everything and y'all gonna watch it. Now, getting into the movie as a whole, the first half of the movie was way better to me than the second half, because, you know, as we got to the end, we began to make choices. And our choice to give our monster so many abilities, that was, I didn't think we needed that. I did like the look and the, you know, the contorted, the whole, you know, creepy aspect. But, you know, the flexibility and the agility of this monster, along with the, you know, the power to control the electricity, that was a choice. Now, I would have preferred, me personally, just a more toned down, just to have, you know, these actions taking place. And before we got, you know, that twist at the end to know, you know, that it was pretty much inside of her the whole time. If it could have just been a regular old just horror, her just turning into that, and of course not knowing what's going on, and then, you know, fleeing the crime scene, I was okay with that. I didn't so much need the electricity aspect. Just, you know, I felt like it was kind of thrown in there to give us, you know, the sparks and the shine and the fire, and of course the voice over the phone, and just to kind of manipulate certain things for the convenience of the story. But I really didn't think it was necessary. And boy, as soon as we get, you know, towards the end and we have, you know, our character annihilate a whole precinct of police officers, it was just like, whoa, like, this is a lot. And we have, body and all this motion and this flexibility to, just flat out jump down fire escapes. And this just, this unbelievable strength. It was a choice. Now, getting into the kills and the carnage, I did quite like them here. It was, quite bloody. We did need those pops of red, and the blood did favor that. We do have, the melting aspect and her getting into the scenes there. There's not so much, a big scare factor here or a big, jump scare situation. There's not a lot of that going on. But we do have, the luminous and like the blackness and the depth and the melting and him kind of looming and appearing. That whole thing, the whole mind tricks that were going on that we didn't quite know what it was before. But we have that, and that is okay. I do like the way that the deaths were executed here, though they really did excel towards the end. Getting into the end of the film. Now, up until us getting into the end, I wholeheartedly, felt like, this was a conjoined twin situation. And they had this attachment because they were conjoined and, they were, cut and separated. And then that's when they decided, to operate, cut out the cancer. No, we were not just cutting out. It was like this whole baby T-Rex attached to her back. I was like, damn, okay. I did not expect that. I did like the twist of, her asshole of a husband bashing her head and, that kind of waking it back up. But that was a twist, and I did kind of get that feeling when, we had the birth mom fall through the ceiling and that whole thing. And, we keep having the things with the, which is, why the electricity thing was used to have, him calling in the phone and to make it appear as if, she was talking to someone else. But the whole time it was just this thing playing around in her mind. That was actually pretty cool. I did like that because I was like, what is this electricity for? Because it's just really not holding any weight for me, except, to give us some sparks. But no, all those times where, we get those old videos and, the who are you talking to and him kind of playing around in her head. He could also, make those, phones ring and play. It was nice. So it was nice for everything to tie together there. But when we get into, get into the jail scene. That jail scene and her getting locked up kind of took me out because for whatever reason, for her to go to jail, we had to be transported to a foxy Cleopatra with the afro 70s parody and also an 80s mullet white trash prison. I was like, what is going on? And we had like a vato. They tried to touch on all little tasteless color ass elements. I was like, she could have just went to regular prison and little lockup and had regular bitches in there. Like, we didn't have to go foxy and 80s mullet and say Holmes, come up off them shoes. We didn't have to go that cheesy with that. But that whole thing and it kind of just breaking free and that kind of explaining to us why, because I just kept sitting there that whole movie like, when is she going to go to the hospital? How many times are you going to get up with your head bleeding? I thought, her head bleeding was because, the whole melting into aspect and she was getting that whole thing with her kind of going inside of herself and him using and idolizing her body entirely. I would have never thought that. That was pretty cool. I did like the twist. Now, getting into the end and, everything crescendoing up and him annihilating the whole thing and everybody who's touching anything having to die for her to finally come out and, use her inner strength. I was like, damn, how many more people gonna go? Because damn. But her finally coming to and that whole thing and her kind of doing the reverse thing with the brother and, playing with his head and, actually saving her sister. That was cute because I was like, damn, you just gonna let him kill your sister like that after all she done for you, So that was nice. Now, what didn't really tie in too well for me was the aspect of the birth mother and her just kind of being there and her not really giving any resolutions as to say, this is what's going on and, you know, telling my real name and, you know, I'm the devil. We do have, you know, that element of her being R word and, you know, her parents saying, you know, it was an abomination, like this religious thing, to maybe kind of give us a grip on why he can control electricity, why, you know, he's, you know, evil. I thought we were going to get more into that and get an explanation from the mom, but we didn't really get anything, just her kind of trying to give last minute forgiveness. Yeah, that didn't really do anything for me. But as a whole, I did enjoy this film. It was a good time. I love that it was just horror. I kind of like, you know, that it was a gumbo. And even with, you know, the lights in that whole situation, it was very much giving me the Lights Out movie. And, you know, him kind of not being able to come into, you know, light, that whole thing. That was giving me Lights Out. So I did like that. I really didn't quite understand that tying into the end, because I was like, you know, if it was her the whole time, why couldn't he, you know, appear in the light? I thought, you know, if it was some lights on, it was an issue, but that was just for scare factor. So, okay, whatever. But I did enjoy the film. I did like the idea. The concept of the monster overall and the look, I did like the all blackness of the situation and the contorted and the jacket coming on and him just kind of maneuvering her this way. I did like that. Now, the actual face of the monster, I didn't quite care for that. It really didn't do anything for me. I did think it was kind of cheaply done. But other than that, I did appreciate this movie. Now, is this, you know, top on my horror list or some shit? Absolutely not. But I did appreciate it just because it was horror. Sometimes we just want horror. Just give us that. We don't need, you know, the social commentary and all this thought-provoking shit all the time. Sometimes I just want to see a monster, you know, the whole macabre situation. Just give us an original monster. And that's what we gave. That's what he gave us. Now, was it executed to the best of its ability? No. Was this some brilliant writing? No. Was this very predictable at times? Yes. Did everything tie together in the end and make perfect sense? Not all of it, but hey, we can't get everything. But I did enjoy this movie. Well, you guys, that was my quick review for Malignant. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down in the comments and tell me what you thought about this film. Did you think it was trash? Because I saw some of them trash comments, y'all. I saw that. Am I saying it's not? I'm solely saying I appreciate the originality and the effort to just give us horror, because horror is, we already went through our whole torture porn phase where that's all we were getting, and now it's just more so about, you know, the social commentary and those type of things that we can fit into horror. I do still love horror. I love the Dracula, the Frankenstein, the you know, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I still love those things, and I appreciate you, James Wan. Drop down and tell me what you guys thought about this movie. I look forward to reading your comments. I see you guys for my next video. Bye.